And we are live. Awesome. Hess, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very good. Good to be back. Love being on your show as always.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a while. Hess, it's so good, man, to read some stuff by you, and it's amazing what kind of content you've put out lately. So, Hess, you've went on Nick Carter's show. That was a brilliant interview. And I thought we can go into some more nuances or some questions that I might have or other listeners might have. Um, yeah, why don't you just start off as what was the motivation for that article? Was it,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so obviously, as you said, it's been a while. I've been a bit busy, with other things, and like to be honest, like I thought the debate was now in good hands. So like I never thought I'd have to be dragged, you know, back into the trenches. But it is wartime out here on the ESG front and all fronts, I suppose. So I'm back. Obviously, the main motivator was the very, very disappointing behavior and statements of Elon Musk. And I said, that's it. It's time to get back into the trenches.
Yeah. So, Hess, what is it? To be honest with you, I can't take Elon Musk seriously anymore. I'm not sure, his intentions, his motivations. Fact is, he is a Cantillon insider. He's massively profiting from, this central banking, zero or negative interest rate credits. He's massively subsidized by governments, a military-industrial complex. It's just a fact, and of course, he's massively uh, profiting off from these so-called carbon credits. Do you want to start off with that, with the background, with the factual background of Elon Musk's position, or how do you want to go along?
So well, he didn't really say many factual things. It was mostly like non-factual, which does make you think. So in the piece I wrote about Elon, I concluded with the statement, uh, like I don't think we'll ever know or understand like why he would say such things. Basically, what he said is like so incorrect and misinformed that somebody with that frame of mind or understanding of Bitcoin, there is no way they would gamble $1 billion of their company's money into such a venture. So he made heaps of just sweeping, just incorrect statements. So is it Elon misunderstanding Bitcoin? Uh, it's hard to say. So effectively, I don't take him seriously anymore. I think he's cost a lot of people a lot of money. He hasn't cost me anything, but there'll be a lot of mostly poor people who bought high, and as soon as they heard from Elon, sold low. We saw a lot of that in the on-chain statistics and behaviors. That a lot of the selling that occurred like during the last retracement has been just from new weak-handed small buyers. So as a man of the people, he did very wrong by the people. Secondly, Tesla, like at one point at its highest point, a few months ago, before its shares came back to reality, was worth as much as all of the car companies in the world put together. And Toyota makes more Corollas, and Volkswagen makes more Golfs, so just one car model from one brand, than all of Tesla per year. So Tesla is not a car company. Tesla is an energy company. So when the CEO of an energy company comes out with complete misinformation and misunderstanding of just how energy works, uh, it just can't be true. It has to be posturing of some sort. Probably political posturing, related to a lot of, the free handouts he gets from the federal government, all of the carbon credits and whatnot. So the way it works currently is, in America, for example, like you have to have an emission-free vehicle in your fleet, like to be sold like in any state, or you can buy the credits from an EV manufacturer, and you're allowed to sell whatever you want. So a lot of Tesla's revenue comes from GM and Ford and whatnot, buying up these credits. Eventually, the tap will close on these credits because all of the car manufacturers now are making EVs as well. And I think Tesla's future dominance will lie in the energy game. So that, having said that, and being a major participant in the energy game, like how can you not differentiate between carbon intensity in different grids? So for example, he says like Bitcoin uses too much coal. Well, how much coal is too much? Like in terms of carbon intensity, Bitcoin is far lower than both USA and China, which is where most Teslas are sold. So if those grids are clean enough to charge electric cars, why aren't they clean enough for Bitcoin? And what does it need to be clean enough? Does it need to be 80% renewable, 100, or is 50 okay? Bitcoin's currently at 39%. Apparently 39%, is not okay enough. Even though it beats the US grid, which is only 20%, and the world average grid, which is 29%. So if 20% and 29% are good enough for your shitty cars, but 39% is not good enough for Bitcoin, how much is good enough for Bitcoin? And this is why when you were telling me earlier, when we were having a think about what to call this episode, ending environmental FUD once and for all, I told you, unfortunately, never once and for all, never ever. Like this FUD will come back forever. Because when Bitcoin hits 50, they'll say 50, not enough, needs to be 70. Bitcoin hits 70, not enough, needs to be 90. Bitcoin hits 100, well, I don't like Bitcoin, it's useless to me. They just need to turn Bitcoin off. So what's more important in the debate and like trying to get the narrative of narrative advanced is to try to not fight these people on their battlefield, and just try to really narrow down into the definition of scope.
In my view, there's a differentiation. There's a default argumentation when it comes to the CO2 emissions, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, but I got to break this to the people. Climate always changes, and if climate change, or also known previously as global warming, I'm not gonna, let's not even go there. But I'm just saying that it's a climate industrial complex. I think it should be called climate carbon credit CO2 industrial complex. That's what it should be called, and the rest, is definitely a valid basis for argumentation, whether that be environmental pollution or, environmental damages. We can all agree on that. I think, we need to, lower the environmental damages or reduce as much as possible, create technologies that make these environmental damages as minimum as possible. I mean, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I'll meet you most of the way there on that one, but we should debate CO2 as well. But further than CO2, we need to discuss greenhouse gas emissions.
Like methane,
so,
like CH4.
Exactly. So methane, F gases, nitrous oxides. So, for example, one molecule of methane, can make anywhere between 50 and 200 times the greenhouse impact of CO2, depending on the time frame you're analyzing, whether it's effects after 25 years, effects after 100 years, whatever. But in all of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, CO2 only makes up for 80% of that. The other 20 being methane, the nitrous oxides, and the F gases. Now, there is so much waste methane that you could literally, if you manage to hook up an ASIC to every flare in the world, you would completely end greenhouse gas emissions from methane, and you'll be able to power a Bitcoin network 10 times its current size. And in that case, you're actually greenhouse negative. So if we get Bitcoin to 100% renewable, they say, you know what? Not enough. It has to be negative 100% offset. So the debate will never end, but it's important that we zone in on because the debate is multi-scoped, with greenhouse gas emissions being a big one. And you'll notice they never say greenhouse gas emissions. They just say CO2. Because Bitcoin may very well eventually become carbon negative. Because if you save one molecule of methane and burn that into Bitcoin, you've saved 50 molecules of CO2. So not only can Bitcoin be powered purely on renewable, it can actually reduce the world's waste. So the CO2 debate is lost automatically in its tracks. So Bitcoin doesn't need to emit CO2 to produce Bitcoin. It can actually consume methane.
And we have the technology. I mean, it's a simple technology, right? We just need to, use up those these.
Oh, there's a surprising amount of it. Yeah, sure, it's not much yet, but I'd say about 0.5% to 1% of Bitcoin's hash rate probably comes from the oil and gas field. Between Crusoe and Greater American Mining and Steve Barber's operation upstream, they'll have they'll push through a couple of 100,000 cubic feet of methane a day. So they'll probably generating 0.5% to 1% of the Bitcoin's power is probably coming from the oil field. And I can see, like I was saying on Nick's show the other day, I can see that being a quarter, over the next 5 years. The main bottleneck now is getting rigs. Just getting rigs out to the wells. There's wells wherever you go, all around the world. The amount of methane, so how they say you gotta spend money to make money. Well, you gotta flare fossil fuels to make fossil fuels. So about 3 or 4% of everything that gets pulled out of the ground needs to get flared. It just used to get vented, but that was so bad for the environment. Everyone, flares now. Some people are moving towards, flare reduction technologies, and there's a goal to have, zero flaring on Earth by 2030. And there's no way to achieve that really, unless, Bitcoin steps in.
Yeah, these are really astonishing numbers and data you've published in your article on Bitcoin Magazine.
So for the listeners, you can just pop over to Bitcoin Magazine. If you check out my author page, you'll see everything I've got up there recently. I've got a little guest writing gig going at Bitcoin Magazine, so I'll probably once every couple of weeks be putting out a nice big long busting piece. The next article in the series will be Bitcoin versus the military industrial complex. So my history at Bitcoin Magazine has been quite interesting from an article history point of view. So the first article was, I really hate comparisons, and we really shouldn't be making comparisons, and Bitcoin needs to stand on its own. And then the second article was F it. Here's a comparison of Bitcoin versus the banks. and then ripped into Elon for the third one a little bit. But as I said, each of my articles is chock full of data. I believe on average, there's 40 to 50 links, per article. Like the run rate is, one link, one reference per 50 words. So a lot of data out there. And, with that much information out there, so easy to find, like there's no way Elon Musk believes what he's saying.
Do you think he's pretending to be that? I mean, not knowledgeable or not comprehending, or he's just trolling around? I'm not sure.
I think he's trolling. Last week he's like, yeah, okay, we met with the miners and Michael Saylor, and it looks like it's going to be okay. This is a behavior you maybe expect from the high school kids.
Yeah, it shows a lot of, I don't know, some kind of image, not mature. I don't know.
Sure,
maybe he's bored. Is he just bored because of his? I don't know.
But for example, I'm bored all the time, and I troll and I shit post on Twitter and all of that. But I don't have the financial fate of hundreds of thousands of people tied to my behavior.
Yeah, not only hundreds, but they actually got a 40, 50 million followers. So, the damages, the consequential damages he's incurring is just beyond, I think, his comprehension. People in developing countries, Venezuela, hyperinflationary countries. I mean, these are people that are, struggling for existence, for survival,
So yeah, like I said, we will never know. I don't see him as a, maybe because I'm biased. I did used to be a bit of an Elon fanboy, but I don't believe the guy that's at least managed the delivery of SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's just pretend he doesn't know anything about rocket science. He doesn't know anything about math. He's stupid. As the manager that put it all together, at the same time Neuralink and at the same time Tesla. I do not believe that he's not across this data.
This is what I'm saying.
The CEO of an energy company not knowing what at least the carbon mix of the US grid is.
Right.
Forget about the world grid. You operate, Tesla has a power plant in South Australia. So the biggest Tesla battery install at utility scale is here in Australia. So it's a global energy company. How does he not understand the global grid and energy curtailment? And he's the CEO of effectively one of the biggest energy companies in the world. If you compare it to other energy companies like Exxon and whatnot, Tesla was almost there at the size. It was top 10 largest companies in the world at one point.
Look, I mean, to be honest, let's go back to the hard data and core, but let's just discuss this for a minute. This is what I'm saying. Elon. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay his creative, whatever innovation spirit, whatever he's got, on his mind. I'm sure he's got. But just look at the facts. I mean, even PayPal. I mean, how much did it really contribute to the success of PayPal, right? He was, I think, was all bought off or with Peter Thiel, and then it was sort of something in between a company, and then once they got successful, and so it's not really, he can't really. I'm not sure whether he can be really proud of his entrepreneurial successes. And that's what I'm saying. I always have to emphasize Elon Musk is heavily subsidized, heavily into the military-industrial complex. And I'm sure, that's why a lot of things he cannot talk about, because that's whatever under national security or confidentiality or whatsoever. So I don't think it's a lot, it's not much of a challenge to build up these these images, whether it be Neuralink, SpaceX, or what have you.
Well, someone who's watching live right now, my old mate Bill Burden, we had a little thrashing out of ideas and brainstorming on possible motives. It could be that Elon just wants to quote unquote, fix Bitcoin. So a solution for him could be to like copy paste the Lightning Network, call it Tesla coin, backed by Bitcoin, obviously, because it's a second layer. But all of the nodes are run by Tesla. So it's not decentralized. It's a centralized Tesla chain. So almost, obviously, like Liquid is a federation. So there's like plenty of people in the federation. Tesla could just be centralized. Create a currency where Tesla vehicles can speak with each other and pay each other, and you can buy Tesla merch and all of that kind of whatnot, and you can settle it into Bitcoin. But while you're on the Tesla network, you'll be using good old quality green energy Tesla tokens. So that could be like another theory. Whereas he's saying, because he said we're keeping the Bitcoin, we're just not going to use it until it's environmentally friendly to do so.
Okay, but that's a nice vision. It's a nice vision, and it sounds to me, to be honest with you, realistically speaking, very utopian, because the way you'd have to like overtake Bitcoin in terms of all its properties, with it being natural emergence,
No.
the
So
network effect. What do you mean? I'm sorry.
So I'm not talking about overtaking Bitcoin. I'm saying it's Bitcoin.
Okay.
So we trade Sats on Lightning. You have LBTC on Liquid, and you'll have Tesla token on the Tesla network, and like it just settles into Bitcoin. But when you're a Tesla owner and you're buying Tesla, it'll be like the currency of the Tesla ecosystem, run on central Tesla servers, which are green and powered by solar energy. But it's actual money because it's a second layer of Bitcoin.
And you think that technologically and from the infrastructure point of view?
I think he'd be able to. I think like it's not a decent, like it's a fully centralized, you never know. I'm sure one of these days in the future, all of these big ecosystems, Apple, like they will have their own money. It's just whether or not it'll be backed by real money, and it's a second layer Bitcoin solution, or it'll just be a bullshit shitcoin. And it'll be money for the ecosystem. If you hold like the Apple token, like certain benefits will accrue to you when you shop with Apple or whatever it is. It'll have to be centralized if he wants it to be green. And like people that don't care about using centralized currencies, which I'd say would be 99% of Tesla customers, would be happy for their Tesla to use Tesla token to pay for like autonomous driving features or whatever. Like it's something that could be done in the future, and something that Elon might be trying to sow the seeds for. I think he's the kind of guy that needs to bring a solution to what he thinks is a problem. So Bitcoin doesn't have any problems at the moment. Elon Musk thinks it has a problem. So he has to invent a solution for this problem and say, here, I invented this for you. Use it.
So he's got this
I
solution.
think that's a very important thing for people like Elon Musk. So I do not fear the guy like trying to hijack or take down Bitcoin. I don't take him seriously. And like if he wants to offer a fix for all of that, 10x transaction throughput for none of the energy, he should just make himself a centralized layer 2 on top of Bitcoin.
This would be the most realistic approach, like to have a second layer. I mean, it's already evolving so fast, the Lightning Network, and why is he not sitting down with serious people like you or other people who know what they're doing, who know the data, who know the technology, who know how to convert this technology into something usable. This is something that boggles my mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah, likewise. And Lightning Labs used to live down the street from him. Like I think they've moved now to Austin, I think, Tesla. But like Lightning Labs was I believe in San Fran right next to Tesla HQ. He could just go in there and say, "Here's $10 million. I need you to copy paste everything like you guys have done, and just make it run on one big node, which I'm gonna connect some solar panels to, and it'll be done in an afternoon."
Did you hear about that other car manufacturer in Daytona? What is it called in
Yeah,
Canada?
there was the Indy. Oh, yes. So there was a Daytona 500 Indy, or not the Daytona 500, sorry, the Indy 500 race. But in Canada, there is an EV company. I just saw the headline. I didn't read anything about it, but the headline said, it can mine while it's driving or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, look, you probably. Like, look, I don't know actually how it works, but you need quite a bit of energy to like mine Bitcoin these days. Like, I don't know how many Satoshis you'll actually be pulling up on your drive to work. You'll be lucky to maybe get 2 or 3 Satoshis, I reckon.
Okay. So has, I mean, the notes, I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about because I know, you hate this compared, but you still, you sat down, you elaborated on all the data and you sent me your notes, on the comparison between, the or what kind of, emission the military industrial complex produces. So it's really eye-opening. So I don't know, do you want to, I think this could be really eye-opening for a lot of people because people have no idea how much, especially, the environmental damages that military industrial complex and the consequential damages, years and decades after. I think can it be calculated at all, or how easy is that?
So I've looked. Actually, there is I was both positively and alarmingly surprised about how much the army actually reports. So they give a lot of data. But when you're assessing greenhouse gas emissions, there are like 3 scope elements. So scope 1 is basically, so like my scope 1 emissions, like of this conversation, will be the electricity that my laptop is using. Basically, that's the energy that's the scope 1 emissions. My scope 2 emissions is like I'm sitting in a room which's got the lights on, and like that's giving out using up energy. Scope 3 is the design and construction of my entire house, all of the fuel that was used in all of the equipment that built the house, the silicon in my laptop. So once you include scope 3, numbers really start to blow out and get realistic. So why aren't scope 3 items calculated usually? Like, it's very hard. Like it requires like a lot of work, a lot of rationalizations. It's just easy to calculate, how much we paid for electricity. That's our footprint, like how much electricity we used. What else? Oh, you got to get me back on topic. I've lost my trail of thought.
I just wanted to know.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The scope 3 emissions. So most governments will report their scope 1 and 2 emissions of the military. So the scope 1 and 2 emissions of just the US military, the Department of Defense reports on it. Very, very detailed. How many million barrels of jet fuel they use, how many million barrels of diesel, Navy oil. They catalog everything it costs to run an aircraft carrier, but nothing about the design and construction and disposal of the aircraft carrier. So the total emissions of the Department of Defense operating is 60 megatons of carbon per year. Bitcoin is 50. The Pentagon building by itself is 20.
Mind-boggling. This is really.
But the Pentagon building, like, you don't see all of it. A lot of it is underground. But in terms of square meters of office space, the Pentagon's the biggest building in the world, like by far.
Crazy.
So it uses a lot of energy. Some people find Bitcoin wasteful. I find the Pentagon wasteful. But I digress. So the scope three, what scope three consists of is the military-industrial complex. So some researchers have done like extensive research on this, and it was all based on, you know, how many people the military-industrial complex employs, how many factories do they have, and in the USA, the military-industrial complex employs 14% of all industry. So the US Army contributes 60 megatons. The industrial complex tacks on about another 300 per year. So all up, on average, and this is about the same for most armies except the US, because of the US Navy and their control of the skies and the seas, they have to use a lot more jet fuel than everyone else. But it's estimated all up that in a cold year, and by cold I don't mean the weather is cold, I mean not active war, you got about like 5% of the world's emissions are due to the army and military-industrial complex. In a hot war, and especially hot years, like when you saw Iraq-Iran war, Kuwait in the Gulf War, when you had oil fields that were on fire for 3 to 4 months at a time, that's another 1% of global emissions. So in a cold year, 5% goes to the military-industrial complex, and in a hot year, it's 6%. Bitcoin is currently 0.1%.
Yeah, I think.
And trending towards zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, if people just understood, like, if that all that energy would have been or could be allocated to real productive use, you know, for civilian use, for, you know, innovation, for what real like prosperity and abundance for society, it's mind-boggling, to be honest with you. It's really mind-boggling. So I think, but it's a good comparison, to be honest with you. I think it's one of the best comparisons because it shows like the usefulness of Bitcoin. Like, what does Bitcoin eventually, you know, the cascading positive effects that it will produce in the years and decades to come is unfathomable.
But look, I understand when people say like it's a long bow, like to draw, but like I want to like try to mean this idea out there that like Bitcoin is a full stack PPE solution: politics, philosophy, economics. It provides a framework of all three for anyone who decides to be a user. So if Bitcoin is a full PPE stack, you have to compare it to the legacy PPE stack, which is the combination of banking, finance, and insurance, government, and the military. So I will be having a look at what governments use. I do have a scope to make it fair. I will just be doing like a mandatory government functions. So I won't be counting healthcare emissions, because not every government provides healthcare. Right. But basically looking at government in terms of like a absolute mandatory essential functions, there's actually a UN like labor scope for that. And like the mandatory government sector, including defense, employs 4.1% of the world's workforce.
Astonishing, yeah.
So they want to come talk to me about waste, like Bitcoin is a waste. Yeah, I don't know.
No, but somebody's got to do the calculation. I think it's really super valuable what you're doing, HASS. So I hope that, you know, at least in the decision-making levels, would it be whatever, legislative levels or I don't know, people like, you know, who have ethos, who have ethical principles like Rand Paul or Ron Paul, you know, these people or Cynthia Lummis, you know, who are hardcore Bitcoiners now, I hope they, you know, they can exert that influence with the data now you know, that other experts like you have produced, and sit down, you know, and deliver results, data, hardcore data, and convincing arguments, and in order
You know,
to push forward.
I think actually Cynthia Lummis has already started to flex her muscle
Yeah.
a little, uh, and that's basically like she's doing that through like incentives for mining,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's I think if politicians get their thinking caps on, I think they're going to warm to this industry very, very quickly, especially politicians in states that have a lot of oil and gas.
Yeah. Let me screen share this article again of Bitcoin Magazine where you also talk about the renewables. Can you just check for a second your microphone? I'm not sure whether I'm the only one who hears your sound a little bit dampened. Is, what kind of microphone are you using? Is that your...
I'm using the AirPods.
Oh, that's why. Okay, because it's pretty dampened. No problem. I mean, I can hear you, but I'm just, for the listeners. So let me go to this article where you say, where you elaborate on that, on this announcement, which Elon Musk had done. Tesla had suspended vehicle purchases using Bitcoin. We're concerned about rapidly increasing use of fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining and transactions, especially coal, which has the worst emission of any fuel. And then you righteously say, I have two words for you, Mr. Musk: prove it. Prove that the use of fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining is rising. Unfortunately for everyone, this is. Now, what my question is, because you say here, you have a source, the Cambridge Center Alternative Finance estimates that 76% of all miners use renewable energies as part of the mix, with between 29 and 39% of all energy. Now, I can imagine it's hard to assess like the precise number, but is like 29% the minimum and 39 like the maximum average?
Yeah. So most of their work, it's I should ask them about it actually. So they refer to 39%, throughout their report. They calculate it, they show the mix, and then later on they assume it's 29%. I'd say probably 39% during like the wet season and 29% during the not wet season.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But that seasonality will go now that, China has apparently banned mining.
Right.
So all of that mining will go to literally greener pastures.
Right. As you mentioned China now, do you see in the very foreseeable future that Bitcoin mining becomes, exponentially more decentralized because, of all the whatever Bitcoin mining bans or energy, policies that, Chinese miners gonna go with their mining units to whatever, to more Bitcoin mining friendly countries like Canada, USA?
Well, if they're going to get banned, they're definitely going to leave, and they'll basically just go wherever power is cheapest. Very, very easy, very agile. You can literally put your rigs in a container and ship them. You can be anywhere in the world in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage. Gee, yeah.
So if it's within the same country, you can do a relocation over a weekend. Half a day to pack, a day to move, half a day to unpack.
That's so much flexibility, right? And efficiency.
So yeah, but even if you're in China and an opportunity came up in Costa Rica, you load up in a container, it's down at the port, 8 days later, it's in Costa Rica at the port. Drive it out, you'll have a 10-day turnover. So probably at worst, anywhere in the world, you can relocate a mining operation in a maximum of 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is going to be really a very fast process. That's my opinion. The deployment and the efficient usage of otherwise wasted flared gas or what have you. Just pack up your unit, move, and just plug it in again. I mean, what do you need? You just need an internet connection, satellite connection, whatever you need, right?
Yeah, and it's becoming exceedingly cheap. So hat tip to Elon Musk and Starlink. you can get solid internet basically anywhere in the world like that you are. You just have to buy a dish for a couple of $100,
Yeah,
and
and you
like,
have
uh, uh,
super
oh
band.
yeah, it's very high bandwidth. So like, and what you'd need is basically you need a decent size, electrical feed and just a concrete hard stand.
Right.
Like I don't think people really actually comprehend like how many miners you can fit in a little container. So in a standard, 20-foot shipping container, you can probably get like 600 rigs in there. 600 times, 3 kilowatts per rig. You've got 1.8 megawatts in one container. So
Mind blowing.
you probably only need like 100, 500 containers full of ASICs
Mhm.
parked at the doorstep of a nuclear power plant,
Yeah.
and they would use up all of that power 24/7.
Yeah.
You have a customer for life out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. The sad part of about nuclear technology is that it has this negative connotation. It has this negative image because of all this, because of all this, brainwashing of,
Eco-terrorism.
yeah, not only that, it's like, our whole, it's all like preoccupied with this image of nuclear and thermo and nuclear and hydrogen bombs, and it's all negative. But I mean, I'm sure there's super advanced, civilian use of nuclear technology out there. Would it be? I think even France has like a very advanced nuclear technology, or Russia, or other countries. It doesn't matter, any other country, but they just need to develop it and scale it up. But unfortunately, they're shutting more and more down.
Look, there's enough waste methane out there to power the green revolution.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was just going to mention in your article.
Because energy companies are going to stay as energy companies.
Yeah,
But in the future they'll change their fuel mix. But if they can turn their waste into money, they can change their fuel mix quicker.
right. Yeah, this is the part where it really shocked me positively, where you say, Elon Musk clearly knows that methane has over 50 times the greenhouse gas effect as carbon dioxide, and surely knows that there are now miners who use waste methane to mine Bitcoin, such as upstream data and great American mining and so forth. And yeah, and I think were you talking just about the U.S., the methane production? Yeah, that it can power
It is.
Bitcoin more than 10
Yeah.
times over?
Yeah. So in America, I think America could power Bitcoin on its own, but if you include the world's flaring, yeah, 10 times over. Because yeah, like I said, you got to spend money to make money. You got to spend gas to make gas. And even though America like produces a lot of oil and gas, like they're small if you compare Saudi Arabia, Russia, like the gas, like the O&G giants. Like America makes up. Oh no, look, proportionally, America probably makes up for about 10% of the flaring of the
Mm-hmm.
world's flaring.
Okay.
If they know what's good for them, like every single flare pipe will have should have a Bitcoin rig sticking out the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Let me go back to this nuclear issue. Do you think, eventually, as it scales up, the Bitcoin mining incentivizes the further development and the usage of nuclear technology and
Yes,
nuclear energy?
absolutely. Yes, but it's going to require extreme like bravery and heroism, because like a nuclear plant like would not be cheap. So you'd be starting off with a capital outlay of at least $10 billion to get a gigawatt of energy. But this energy is like clean. It's and it's 24/7. People don't want to live near it. Understandable. So you just build it really far away, and right next to it, You just build a flat concrete slab and put 3,000 containers there. And then you have customers for life, literally forever. For hundreds of years, you have customers forever. But the risk is maybe like Bitcoin might not be there forever. So then you have to, extend the grid out from the middle of nowhere into the city because no one wants to live near a nuclear power plant. But a pension fund that needs solid, consistent asset liability matching and payout for its clients, a nuclear power plant is a money printer, basically. Nice, consistent cash flows, 24/7. And as the rigs get better and better, you can probably fit much more hash rate into a smaller space. Even the concrete slab wouldn't need to be that big.
That's amazing. So, is there anything? I think you should go more on podcasts and have panel discussions with other experts or other Bitcoiners. So I guess you're going to do that.
I am making myself available.
Yeah.
So no, it's time to get back into it. I fell out of the swing of things for a little while, but yeah, it's everybody. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where everybody in the community has to be armed to fight the narrative. So it's very, very important that everyone gets an idea of just the scope of world energy. I remember a long time ago, maybe it was on John Vallis's show, almost 2 years ago, that Bitcoin is an energy play, not a finance play. Exactly. I might have even said it on Nick's show. Mm-hmm. So it's equally important that everyone understands world energy, in conjunction with Austrian economics, mm-hmm. and obviously the code and all that kind of stuff. But just you don't have to become an expert on world energy. Just get an idea of just the scope of what's going on in aggregate around the world. Clarify your terms. So CO2 versus GHG is a key one. Making sure not to mix up energy with electricity, because hundreds of millions of people live life without electricity, but they all have energy. And it's the same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't need electricity. It's nice to have electricity, but it doesn't need electricity. You give me a methane pipe, I can get you some Bitcoins. It just needs energy. So that's another one to not get confused. And finally, energy use is fine. We've only made advances in civilization because of our energy use.
Exactly.
It's the emissions that are bad. It's the waste that's bad. And Bitcoin helps cut emissions and waste. So yeah, it uses electricity, but it's not as dirty as you might think.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it's really ridiculous that after all these years and so much hardcore data and publications and discussions and solid arguments, we're still discussing the all this energy. We have to trying to debunk or to what do you call it, to bust all this energy FUD or all this FUD in general around Bitcoin. And it's a little bit saddening after 12, 13 years of Bitcoin. It's already so much data, so much arguments put on the table. It's a little bit saddening. Instead of focusing on the midterm or long-term vision and goals, what we can achieve with Bitcoin, So to zoom out a little bit and to wrap this up, do you have any other thoughts to share, geopolitically, macroeconomically, or in terms of auto DCA? Where is the price going? How much what's the potential of manipulating the Bitcoin price with all these artificial derivative products, the futures products, or what have you?
So what I can say about auto DCA is if you're not already doing it, get onto it ASAP. If you are already doing it, just also note that this is a very rare time in history that Bitcoin is under the 200-day moving average. And traditionally, these are where the fortunes are made. So if your budget can wear it, double your daily auto DCA until we're back up over the 200, and then you can dial it back if you need to. But slow and steady always wins the race. If you have a look at people who bought a lump sum on January 1st versus the people that have been buying daily, like the numbers are about the same.
Yeah.
And the numbers will always be about the same. It just maybe just doesn't feel like it, like when the price is ripping up, but just chip away every day and I promise you get there.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of people that, that used to say, "Oh, I'm gonna buy when it's going lower," but once it's lower, then, they have all kinds of other excuses. The psychology of human beings is really interesting, So when it goes back to 100 or two, or when it finally reaches 100, 200 in fiat terms, then we'll see,
I've been guilty of that. Look, we all have it. All Bitcoiners learn eventually. Some the easy way, some the hard way. I unfortunately had to learn the hard way early on, but now that there's, us to be here for you guys, like as a community, like you do not have to learn these lessons the hard way. We've done the learning on your behalf. So slow and steady, like wins the race. Especially in times like this when we're below like a major long-term average. I usually don't believe in technical analysis. But being, an energy guy, a nature guy, I always like Bitcoin will always return, will naturally return to its mean. And it'll go over it and it'll go under it, and its mean is heading in a upwards direction. So now that we're under the 200-day mean, if you can afford to be a bit more aggressive in your auto DCA budget, it's a good time. It's a good time to up it.
What's your price prediction until the next halving, or shortly after the next halving in 2024?
So an earlier prediction of mine was on block 700,000, which is very soon actually, which is in about 3 months or so. And this is a year and a half old prediction, way before COVID even, when Tone Vase was in Sydney visiting us. So maybe mid to late 2019. I said 70,000 US by block 700,000. And I think I'm probably going to be right, actually. So we're block 685,000 or something right now. Let me check the time. I don't have a block clock yet.
Me neither. I'd love to have one.
It's on, yeah, me too. It's on a multi-month back order. So a very popular product.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do believe the time is around 685,000 or thereabouts. So at the 1/3 point of the bull cycle will be block 700,000.
Okay.
So we got a halving every 210,000 blocks. So a third of the blocks 70,000, and the last halving was at block 630,000.
Yeah.
So I'm saying at 130 into the bull cycle, so 1/3 into the bull cycle, will be at 70,000 US.
Okay, got you. There will come a time, we never had a money with absolute scarcity and with the magic sauces of difficulty adjustment and halvings and, and supply shocks and, with ever increasing demand, the supply gets, less and less and less. And so it's absolute scarcity. So it's never been done. So when do you think, we finally gonna go off this mindset of thinking in fiat terms? Like just thinking in purchasing power. I think there will come a time, whether it's in 5 years, in 10 or 15 years, it doesn't matter at what price Bitcoin is going to be. It could be at 10 million or 1 million or 20 million. It doesn't matter. I think people need to really readjust their thinking. It's in purchasing power.
If we can get 3% of the world's adult or working population, just 3%. Doing $10 a day, that's enough. Bitcoin will be 5 to 10 million each.
Yeah, but in
Because
purchasing power,
three,
it could be exponentially more. You know, this is, I think we have
because
to
look,
change our mindset.
put it this way. So 3% of like the, working adults would be, 100 to 150 million people. At $10 a day, that's $1.5 billion a year.
Hmm.
Sorry, a day,
Hmm.
going into Bitcoin. So that's 500 billion a year going in. So yeah, it'll be worth $1 million to 5 million each, and the other 97% will just have to learn.
Yeah, yeah, it's all a learning process.
So the trick is to get into the 3% that learns first,
Right.
or learns that DCA is the way first, because that's basically it. So Bitcoin offers me a PPE stack: politics, philosophy, economics.
Hmm.
So I just migrate to that PPE system, and I do that daily. So the more people just migrate to the system, like Bitcoin just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it gets, like, if you think people were excited about buying Bitcoin at 60,000, wait till you see how excited they get to buy it at 600,000.
Yeah, it's a price that everybody deserves,
Right? Because it's going to 1 million, 600 grand
Right,
to 1 million. That's
right.
so like so auto DCA is the most important thing you can do for both yourself and for Bitcoin. If you get that steady stream of money coming in every single day relentlessly, the selling eventually runs out.
Yeah, it's the most relaxing, way of really investing and saving, investing into your own future, into your family's future, and into your own life, and just, just auto DCA, just, accumulate, constantly, and eventually it will, gradually and suddenly happen. So let's wrap this up.
Just before we wrap up, I might add, so when I first preached auto DCA, it was, I think, November 2018
Yeah.
was my first article on it. So forget November and December. Let's say you made a New Year's resolution and started on the 1st of January.
Hmm.
1st of January 2019 until 31st of December 2020. So in the 2 calendar years, 19 and 20, $10 a day got you 1 Bitcoin.
Right.
And that's what I said in my article. Like, a lot of people, like, you feel like you're sufferers now, but I promise you, even $10 a day. And like, I hope a lot of people took me up on my offer and my promise that, like, it's just $10 a day and you'll have a full Bitcoin. Probably not anymore. That time's gone now. But like, like, it's still a good amount of Bitcoin you'll be saving up for just $10 a day.
Yeah, with a reservation. I mean, the average family, the average household in Western countries, definitely, I think $10 for a lot of people in other countries is lots of money. But let's just say, Europe, Canada, USA, like Western countries,
So OECD average weekly salary is $770 US.
Yeah. Hmm.
Which is whatever is $110 a day, or sorry, $770 a week. Yeah, $110 a day is like average salary. So yeah, $10 would be like on the larger side, but the OECD is like it consists, I think, of something like 50 or 60 countries.
Yeah.
So the top 20 OECD, like, their average weekly wage is up closer to 900 to 1,000 a week. So $70 a week on Bitcoin. It's not that much of a yearly budget for the average man. But for like a lot of people that are in Google and currently working as software engineers at these big companies making 150, 180 grand a year, like $10 a day is the absolute minimum charity you can contribute to propping up the Bitcoin price floor.
Right.
And if you know what's good for yourself, you should be pumping in 100, $200 a day, at that wage.
Yeah.
So I tell people that
it just needs like 2, 3, 4% of the world's population. It's really a really low critical mass of people.
So that's about it. That's about it. Me.
Get yourself a studio microphone, Has, for next time.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Because your
I'll have
voice
to.
is really dampened.
I thought these AirPods would do a good job. They usually do.
Yeah, it's pretty dampened. I hope my listeners not gonna complain, because usually my listeners complain. But that's why I got this microphone and everything set up. So, Has, any final thoughts, or where can people find you? Any other resources, links coming up, articles?
All right, so people can find me on Twitter at Fryer Hass, and you can also you can visit my author page on Bitcoin magazine. I'll be doing a lot of writing for them over the next several months, mostly around this topic, energy, and also the PPE stack. So get more into the cosmic side of philosophy as well.
Awesome. Hey, bro. Hope we can meet each other again in person. Hopefully, wherever.
One of these days.
Yeah, I couldn't even make it, to the conference in Miami. It's so many obstacles. But yeah, we might see each other in Europe or somewhere at a conference in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, Has.
But until then, we got to keep it digital.
Yeah. Okay, Has. Take care. Have a
You
great
too.
day. Yeah. Talk to you
You
soon.
too.